Hello, welcome to the Sales Code Leadership Podcast. My name is Kevin Teeler. I'm the host of the Sales Code Podcast and the founder of Sales Code. And this week, I'm delighted to introduce a returning guest. It's an absolute pleasure to greet Lisa Occleshaw. How are you today, Lisa?
I'm really good, thanks, Kevin. How are you?
I'm pretty bouncy. I'm better on a Thursday than I am on most days, actually. I may just peak. Yeah, for what it's worth. Since you asked me the question, I'm one of those people, if someone asks me a question, I'll generally answer it.
I want a proper answer, definitely.
So, yeah, I don't like Mondays, Lisa. I'm sorry. I just
hate Mondays. Always have. Yeah.
Because?
It's a cool thing.
Yeah.
I feel like the Sunday night rushing to get homework finished. So it's that kind of, it's ingrained, I think.
Also for me, growing up in the 70s, there was no good TV on a Sunday evening. No. It was mostly religious programming. And it was just so depressing. It was Britain in the 70s. There were some good things about it that I recollect from my childhood, but there were some bad things as well. So, yeah, I agree. It's a school thing. You're right. Apparently, the time that most people start to think about Monday morning is 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I always try and do, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but one thing I always try and do is not contact my team on a Sunday because they don't need to think about Monday any earlier than it actually arrives.
I love that. I think that's super. Well, we'll come back into this because we know that one of your special strengths is positivity. So we'll tap into that. Where we wanted to frame this conversation today was really talking specifically about selling, what's changed about selling, what makes a great salesperson, but also to sort of articulate that we need more women in sales and what a great career it is. And you're a living example of that because we can just hear your enthusiasm for this profession all the way through the conversations that we have. But before we get to that point, for the benefit of people that haven't seen or listened to Lisa Occleshaw episode 1, let's do a little recap. What is it you get paid to do now?
I get paid to make revenue, to hit revenue targets. That's it. Make money.
Very simple.
Sell software.
Yeah, to sell software, hit targets. That's the lovely thing about selling. It is, you do have a very clearly defined goal.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter what level you are in a company. If you're in a sales function, you're a salesperson.
Yeah. Well, what happens if you don't hit a goal though?
Depends on the organization, depends on the target. So if you don't hit a quarterly goal, but your actual OTE is based on a year's number, then it's about changing the plan, get up, adapt, see whether you can get that back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a performance business selling, isn't it? It
absolutely is a performance business. I don't think we're in the days anymore of 2 quarters and you're out. I hope we're not. Just because of the way that tech sales has changed, I think it's much more considered. We're not selling double glazing. So, I think it depends on the organization.
Have you sold double glazing?
No.
What was the first thing you sold?
Yeah, fruit and veg. While I was doing my O-levels, I had a part-time job in a greengrocer's and I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Apples and pears.
Yeah, carrying 50 kilo sacks of potatoes around. I loved it.
What did you love about it, apart from carrying the sacks around?
I think it was because there was a whole group of people of similar age. We had the radio on in the background all day. People were coming in all day. It was a really busy shop. I mean, this is like 85, 86. So it was busy, people came to the shops, and you got to know the people. They were always, it was in a small town in the Midlands. So people got to know everybody and it was just fun all day. And I got paid to do it. It was bonus.
Just like your job these days.
It really is. Yeah. I'm quite a simple soul, I think.
And is this the career that you had in mind at 16 then? A sales leader for a growing tech company?
No, I wanted to be a doctor. Yeah, loved my sciences. He's probably dead now, so I can say it, a terrible chemistry teacher who frightened the daylights out of me. No. Threw things around the classroom, shouted really loudly. Not a pleasant experience, and it put me off chemistry. So at that point, everyone was saying you have to do, physics, biology, chemistry to be a doctor. So I dropped out of that and didn't really know what I wanted to do then. Knew it was probably going to be something to do with business, so did an accounting degree. Didn't want to be an accountant, but wanted to understand how the world of business worked and fell into a tech sales job by accident.
It doesn't surprise me. Very few of the people I interview for this podcast ever had a design to be specifically in sales.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's because perhaps it wasn't as recognized a profession as it is today. But I think, what do you think on that score?
I think that's probably true. I think, if I'm really honest, people tend to look down on salespeople. I even did it myself just then, didn't I? I said, we don't sell double glazing. But if you need double glazing, you have to have a salesperson to sell it to you. You've got to buy it from someone.
Yep.
So I think there has been a bad view of what a salesperson is there to do. I think tech sales now, hopefully, is viewed slightly different in that we're trying to add value. Most of the time, we're trying to build long-term relationships with our customers. And yes, that means in the most basic sense, selling more stuff, but it also means trying to help the customer be successful as well. So I think it has changed.
Yeah, the old view of the salesperson was someone that would smooth talk you into buying something you probably didn't want or need.
Exactly.
You're not in that business.
No, I'm not, because it does come back and bite you on the bottom if you do that, you know.
Yeah.
I lose money if I lose a customer. I mean, literally, you know, if I take that ongoing revenue hit, that comes out of my achievement. So I absolutely want to make sure the customers are successful and happy.
Yeah. And we do that by having great salespeople that are successful and happy as well, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
And if I'm right, you spent quite a while as one of those salespeople.
I did, ever such a long time. Yeah.
How long was it for you before you managed to get away from directly bag carrying?
Yeah, I was at IBM for just short of 20 years. And I did my first management job probably 3 or 4 years before the end of that. So it was a good, 15 years or so of bag carrying, or at least managing bag carriers closely.
Yeah. How many other women were there in the sales organization that you bumped into?
A few, but not many. So as a bag carrying seller, trying to think back now, there were maybe 3 of us in that part of the business. Interestingly, when I interviewed for IBM, so this is going back to 1998, they used to do these interview days, right? So they'd invite a whole bunch of candidates along. There were 35 people on that day, and I was the only woman.
Wow.
And 3 got jobs, one of which was me. So
85 people.
Yeah.
1 woman.
Yeah.
And only 3 jobs.
Yeah.
You did well, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. You must be proud of that.
I am proud of it. I'm also, there's lots of things about IBM that have needed to change over the years, but actually back then, that was quite okay. It wasn't 50% of the room that were women, but that's not necessarily just down to the company. For the company to do that, and I remember I was in there I had bright red hair at the time. I was in a bright orange jacket. And the guy who hired me said, honestly, you don't need to wear bright colours to be noticed. We know you're there in the room. So no, it was quite forward thinking of them.
Did you ever find out what it is that they particularly liked about you for that job?
I have been told it was my energy and enthusiasm. So I didn't know everything at the time. But I was absolutely keen to learn. I was very enthusiastic about getting stuck into the job and being successful. I was hungry.
Were you successful in the early years?
Yes, I was. Yeah. And back then you did make some good money. I was never the person who, bought, actually I was just about to say bought the Porsche, but I did buy one of those. But, I was never the one who was, 300, 400, 500% of number every year, but I made a very, very good living. So yeah, very successful.
Did you get a lot of sales training?
Yes.
Yeah. How long did it last, that sales training? Do you remember?
Well, it was kind of ongoing. So it started out, I came in as an experienced hire because I'd worked for a small reseller before. But if you were coming in as a graduate, there was a whole enablement program to bring you into the company. Then you chose your business stream. Then you got your product training, your business training, and that training was ongoing.
Yeah. I think they really did invest money in giving people the foundational skills, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I think many companies, because the market's more fragmented now, there's a lot more companies selling computer equipment and computer software. Some of those small organizations don't have the time or the resources to do the training that someone like IBM would have done. But you still need the skills, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Actually, it's one of the things that I love about Ping, the company I work at now. They invest heavily in enablement. And again, it's ongoing, and everyone who is in anything to do with a revenue generating role, we all go through continuous enablement, whether it's about the business, about a customer sector, a product set, a solution, sales training. If you're right at the beginning of your career, it's a very, very thorough enablement program.
You see, Lisa, I'm wondering if this is why more women don't apply for sales jobs, because they don't see it as a profession in the same way that marketing is. And what you're saying, actually, it is, because, boy, do we need people to be professional salespeople, but we're also prepared to train and support them in that journey.
Yeah, I think there's two things. I think what we're now getting switched onto as a society is STEM. So getting women into a STEM field at uni and starting them in their early education. My point really is more about the fact that I didn't come from a science background. I've had a very good career in sales. I think there is a gap in the knowledge. We're not telling young women, do you know what? There's marketing, there's sales, there's PR, there's enablement. There's so many peripheral careers around technology that women can do really well in. Obviously for me, I want more sales candidates that are women. So I think it's a little bit about not understanding. You don't need to know the technology. We'll train you in that, It's more about that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What skills do you think professional sellers need today? What do you think are the most important things?
I think they need to be self-sufficient. I think in the kind of world we live in now, where we are remote a lot of the time, you've got to be able to get up and go to wherever your workplace is, in your home or in the coffee shop or wherever, and get on with it. I think you've got to have a little bit of stubbornness. Don't walk away on the first no. You've got to keep going back. And also, when you get those no's, you can't take it personally. None of it is personal. You just got to keep going. So it's perseverance and work hard, because the benefits are good. The rewards are big. So you've got to put in the effort.
People expect it, don't they?
They do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
The salaries are good in tech sales, and that doesn't come without expecting someone to work hard for it.
No, the salaries are good. The benefits are good. Yeah. Can you, as a woman, maybe with children, is there a flexibility around working that you think?
Yeah, again, perhaps a benefit coming out of the pandemic, even more so we're flexible. But back then at IBM, we did some working at home. There was never an issue with that. We had the equipment to be able to do our job from wherever, whether that was a customer site or in our own home office. I think that's more so now. I also think that the kind of the implications of having women working in this kind of career is that you've got to support the rest of their life. So that means supporting the family. And that comes with giving men better paternity leave. Don't force it onto the women to support growing families. It should be a 2-person job. Let's make sure we support that. So it's not just about the woman, but it is about supporting life choices so that she can go down that career.
I don't know what paternity leave is these days. When I had my kids, my eldest daughter's 30.
Yeah.
I think I might have had a day off.
Yeah. My son's nearly 18. My husband had 2 weeks off. I remember that.
Things have changed a bit.
I think it's like a month now.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
And I think it's flexible. So if they want to take more, then companies work around that.
And why, if you've got a woman applying for a job, why would she apply for a job in sales and not marketing, do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. And bizarrely, my husband's in marketing. So he always says that I'm the person who kind of sells and shops for a living. And I always say he colours in for a living. So we're quite competitive in our household, I have to say. No, I think it just depends on their strengths. There might be more creative and want to be focused on messaging and go-to-market messaging and attracting, wider audiences, gaining interest. And then I guess the seller's about closer relationships with customers, and financial reward.
Uh-huh. Why is it a closer relationship with the customer?
Because if you're doing it well, and I've got customers I'm still in touch with now that I sold to 20 years ago. So
Really?
if you do it well, those relationships, networking, incredibly important
Yeah.
for your career. You might not stay at this company for a sales job. You might move to the next one. You want those networks to continue. But if you're selling to a customer who trusts you, you're going to sell more to them. It is about a long-term relationship.
Yeah, building solid relationships that will last.
Yeah.
What about product knowledge then? Is that super important?
It is important. I don't think you have to be super technical, but I think that, and this is something because I'm not massively technical, I'm pretty technical, but I constantly need to try and up my technical knowledge, because we are selling to technical people most of the time.
Yeah.
We might like to engage with CIOs and CFOs and CMOs in our case, but most of the conversations are happening with technical people, and you have to speak their language. So if it isn't about the bits and bytes and how it works, it is about what's the benefit? What does it do over the competition? How do we think we add value with the product? So product knowledge is really important. Hence the enablement.
Yeah. Hence the enablement. Yeah. But also, I guess you would have access to a system engineer, wouldn't you, for the bigger deals and stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And are they salespeople as well? I mean, I was wondering if that system engineer approach is another route into sales for women who want to come into the profession.
I think it is, and I think there's other flavors of sales, if you like. I mean, in our place, we have customer success teams as well, who are managing the base customers, but they're there as well to upsell and help the customers improve and increase investment. The solution architects, that's what we call a sales engineer. They are absolutely part of the sales team. None of this is down to the salesperson alone. You are working as a team. But yeah, a route between them is something that I think is attractive in a company. If you can develop and move within the disciplines, then that company knows they want to keep you as an asset, and they'll support you changing.
Yeah. And we talked about how things have changed. I mean, you started your career with IBM 2 decades ago, did you?
Yeah. I wish. A little bit more than that.
But in that period of time, what do you think has changed in sales?
I think it's become, it sounds flippant, but I think it's become more serious. Back then it was just because of the nature of what we were doing, and it was very male orientated. It was very much about fast cars, expensive watches, big rewards, big commissions, lots and lots of benefit for the salesman. And it was mostly salesmen at the time. I think now you don't get those club trips, you don't get the expensive prizes, gifts, cars, all of that kind of stuff. But it's more about building a longer career and developing through the organization. I don't think there aren't many people now that stay in a sales role. They'll still want to develop through the company, maybe just at a team leader level or a first line manager level. But I think it is about longevity.
And how do you ensure that you keep progressing? I mean, I don't know, do you need to progress? Because actually,
no.
I mean, you can progress by just being a better version of yourself, can't you? You don't necessarily need that step up into the next job all the time.
No, but I think there's certainly what I see is there is a seniority within the sales teams. So you're still a salesperson. You might be a senior account exec. You might be we used to have deal makers when I was at IBM. They were people who had a small number of customer organizations, but they sold the whole kit and caboodle, and they would work with all of the brand sellers. So there are different flavors of selling, and it is perceived as a step up. When someone gets to a senior account exec, you know that they've been successful, they've been there a while, they've got the experience, and they've got the network and the relationships.
Do you think you would have been happy if you just stayed as a pure salesperson your whole career?
I think that I realized that my strengths were in leading the team. Yeah. So, I did love being a seller, but the things I loved about being a seller, I still get from being a sales director, but I get much more from getting my team to be as successful as they possibly can be as well.
Well, let's talk about that a bit then. That's an interesting topic in itself. What is it you love about leading teams now that you're doing that for a while?
I learned probably in my 40s that I love people. That's why I'm in this job. I love people, and I can get the measure of a person, work with them to understand what their goal is, what they're trying to achieve, and then make sure that the way that we are targeting them, teaching them, working with them, and helping them with their customer engagements get to whatever that goal is. So whether it's progression, whether it's money, whether it's just more knowledge, or I love that. I love the experience of getting someone to a point where they're on stage getting an award, and I think, okay, I've done my job now.
Oh, I love that.
When I get a new person, and this is one thing that I think it's why I want more women in the team. So when I get new people in the team, one of the first questions I'll ask them is, how can I help you be more successful? Because it is really important as a sales leader to do that. You get different answers from men and women. You know, with women, it is about developing themselves. I'm not saying it's not with men, but there is a slight difference. Women want to develop themselves. Maybe they want to earn as much as they can to support the family. Maybe they do want career progression, but it's much more considered. I've been interviewing some people in the last week who were at the start of their sales career, and you say, what drives you? I want to make money. I want to make money. So you do often get, a slightly different goal, whether it's a man or a woman that you're working with, and they bring different things to the team. And I need more women. I do.
Yeah, good. Amen to that. Absolutely. I love that. Well, let's drill into teams a little bit then, because I think that's one of the appeals of coming into sales, that you can work in this closely knit team.
Yeah.
Can you really have a sales team when I'm assuming that your staff, your sales team's paid on individual targets, isn't it?
They are. Yeah, they are.
So how can you make that into a team? They're all hunters, aren't they? They've got their own objectives.
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. I think what I have fostered in my team now, so I've got a team of varying experiences and ages, right? From 20s to 60s, literally, in my team.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is
that's diversity in itself. Good for you, Lisa.
Absolutely, because we've kind of fostered I hate the word cadence because it's very much around forecasting, but it is a kind of rhythm of when we get together, spending time together, doing our enablement together. They learn from each other. I watch them. We've got a Slack channel. You know what technology is like now? We've got channels for everything. We have a Slack channel, and I watch them talking to each other. Hey, has anyone done this with a customer? Hey, does anyone know how I can structure a contract to do such and such? They're all helping each other. They foster their own relationships. They learn who can help them and with which areas of the business. And also, when somebody wins, we make a big deal out of it, and they all want that. So that's where the self part of it comes from. They want a bit of glory. They know everyone's going to get commission when they make a deal. So we have a team target. They want the glory. They have a real connectivity in we are the UK and Ireland sales team. They want us on stage at kickoff. They want us to be recognized on the global calls. So they become a bit of a team personality. Yes, they've got their own target, but I don't have any that are the lone wolf character. None of them.
Interesting you use that phrase lone wolf, because in the groundbreaking sales book, The Challenger Sale, that's one of the selling styles they actually talk about. And lone wolves can be very successful individually, but they're not good team players, are they?
No, they're not. I don't have any. I don't especially want one, if I'm honest. I wouldn't want to exclude anyone necessarily on the basis of a label, but the thing that makes our team successful and the thing I love is about that team focus. Everyone wants to help each other be successful.
Yeah, I love that. That's a proper team. You go to bat for each other. I had my first sales job, right, was Yellow Pages advertising. And I was 23 years old, quite cocky character. Some really hard-nosed salespeople there, actually. This was in the days when you could still smoke in the office. Have you ever seen Mad Men, the TV series? It was that kind of atmosphere, right? You know, when you started with IBM, there was probably some of this sort of thing going on. And I'd been there for 6 months. And I had a massive motorcycle accident, which put me off work for 3 months.
All right.
collided with a post office van. Well, not a great thing to do. On my wife's birthday, Lisa. Even
Sorry,
worse.
was it a big red van?
It was.
Okay.
I know. How did I miss that? It was raining. I was on a motorbike. So it impacted me on my left foot.
Right.
I was off work for all this time. Came back to work, actually, limping a little bit, but otherwise okay. Do you know, I earned more commission while I was in hospital than I earned before or after I came back, because the other guys in my team were chipping in their own contracts to my commission pot.
Right.
How about that?
That's amazing.
I still see those guys, but to me, that's teamwork, isn't it? Totally. I'm not saying you can do that. You can do that in your company today. That's not going to work, but it's an example of what people will do if they really care about each other, isn't it?
Yeah. I think there are things that the company can do. So I had one of my guys recently, he's been out for surgery, and he's had a couple of deals that actually, because we knew he was going for surgery, I was covering. So I just carried on while he was out. But for new things coming in, the rest of my team were ready to chip in. I would have made sure they got a split of that, a proportion of that, so that it helps. But they would have done it for nothing. They would have. Yeah. So it is a supportive team. I think one of the things, again, just going back to women in tech sales, knowing that there is that team environment, I think women like to feel part of a community. I loved when I have one woman in my team. I loved it when she joined. I was like, yes, another chick in my business. And we've got a great relationship. We're very similar people as well. One thing that we need to show women who are looking in to the tech sales world is the community, is role models, is mentorship. It's knowing that you're not the only person in there. You're not 1 in 35 in the room. You're going to be going in where there is, in our place, it's fantastic. We have a great diversity model. We've got Chief Legal Counsel is a woman, Chief Products Officer is a woman, Head of Marketing for EMEA is a woman. There are women role models all the way through the organization. So we have a responsibility to make sure we're mentoring and bringing women in and showing them this is a great career, because they just add to the team.
Completely agree with you. I think we all have a fundamental need to want to belong. And the most fundamental you need traditionally is a family, isn't it? Where we all feel interdependent on each other. Totally. There's a village, right? There's a theory apparently that you can only have 150 friends of any level, people that you know to a degree of depth, which coincidentally is the size of what used to be a village.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't know that.
But we want to believe, we want to belong, and we want to feel we've got a shared purpose and mission, which I think is what you're talking about there.
Yeah, I am one of those people who I don't mind being the only person in the room doing something. I know we're going to talk about this in a bit as well, but I've done many years as a singer in a band, so I am not frightened about getting up on a stage in front of people I don't know and being the center of attention. I'm a complete show off, so I don't mind that. But it's really, lots of people aren't like that. That's not a woman thing. That's just my character. Lots of people aren't like that. And you need to know that you're part of a team, part of a community, whether it's, women, or whether it's people of color, whether it's people who are less able-bodied. They belong in our sales teams, all of them, because they are part of society and everybody brings something to it.
And that's why I like to talk about being a professional salesperson and sales as being profession. Because you're joining a profession.
Absolutely.
It's a community in itself. If you really dedicate yourself to being the best salesperson you can be, if you're in a company like yours that really supports you in that mission, I think that's a great thing. Let's talk. Sorry, you carry on. I interrupted you.
I was just going to say, I think that the company that I'm in now, Ping Identity, I love it to bits. It's probably the best place I've ever worked. Not to say I haven't enjoyed my previous, jobs and parts of my career, but I love this place with an absolute passion.
And that's a great thing in itself. Isn't it? It really is. That's a great thing. You can say you love going to where you love the company you work for. That's a wonderful thing. You always exhibit this wonderfully positive attitude.
Annoyingly positive. That's how I'm described often.
By who?
My mother. My mother, some of my friends, but yeah, I am.
What time of day are you most positive?
Oh, I'm pretty positive most of the day, but I am definitely a morning person. I'm wide awake at 5 o'clock, 5:30. I am raring to go.
Do you exercise in the morning?
I do.
If I'm right, you've picked up a new exercise routine not that long ago, haven't you?
Well, it's actually, I was thinking about this. So my husband and I have been weightlifting for, I think it's 6 years this year.
Okay. Oh, it's been a while.
So it's been a while. So yeah, twice a week I'm in the gym with my trainer. I still need to lose weight, but it's a constant battle. But yeah, my trainer's not well actually. So we were in our own gym this morning. It is a part of our lives. I do constantly need though more opportunities to move because I'm sitting at a desk all day. I love my Apple Watch because it does time to stand. So I've got my standing desk as well to try and encourage me to do calls like that. But yeah, I love exercising, singing, working, family. There's not a lot about my life I don't like.
No, it sounds great. What I'm interested to know is that you do have bad days.
Yeah. Losing a deal still absolutely cuts me to the core, really does.
And how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that lost deal? How do you rationalize it?
So it sounds like it is a grief. It's a process of grief. So you've lost something that you were convinced you were about to have. So day one, I'm probably swearing a lot. I will probably end up with a gin and tonic or two, maybe a martini if my husband's feeling generous. So first couple of days, definitely anger at how could this have happened? Why have I not seen it? What could I have done differently? Where have we messed up? Anger at the customer for choosing the opposition. How stupid can they be? That kind of stuff will go through my head. But literally a couple of days and it's done because, as I said, you can't take any of this personally. It's very much you're in a competition with companies and employees who feel equally as passionate about the solution that they're selling. I don't like losing on price. It really bugs me because I kind of feel that you've spent probably the best part of a year. Sales cycles in technology, they're not quick. It's not like we very, very rarely do a 90-day turnaround on a sale with a customer. So you've probably invested a year of your time along with your sales engineer, your professional services people, your technical people, maybe even right the way up through the organization for strategy meetings and trying to show that we can deliver value to a customer. And then when you lose that on price, I find that the most difficult to deal with. But you have to move on. So in order for me to just be able to get up every day, I just have to forget that. I can't change it. Once it's done, could I have done anything differently? Let's not do that again. What can we learn going forward? And then get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, put it behind you. Rationalize it. Think about it. Look at the reasons and things that you could change, I guess, if there's anything you could have changed. Often you can't, can you?
No, and sometimes it's just about, I often find that it brings up a question I should have asked, 2 months earlier in the process. And then it is on me or it's on me and my rep, that nobody actually asked a particular question if that happens. But sometimes you can't change anything. It's just the way it goes. You can't win everything. You really can't. That's just a life lesson. And if you're going to get, distraught over not getting your way in a particular thing in life, then you won't survive. You've just got to get on with it.
So what's the advice you would give to your younger self, Lisa, about the beginning of your sales career?
Have a bit more confidence. It sounds silly, really, with me being the way I am now, but I think I allowed people to put me into a box early in my career, and that was more about not being confident about what I knew or what I was capable of. That's why education and enablement is so important, because when you know your stuff, then no one can take that away from you. It doesn't matter whether it's sales training or product training. So I think I would say have a bit more faith in yourself, Lisa. And yeah, maybe be a bit bolder. I think maybe there were things I didn't go for that I should have done, perhaps. But yeah, have confidence, have faith.
And what about, we've been talking about women in tech sales specifically, haven't we?
Yeah.
Any more thoughts on that?
I think the most important thing, actually, don't think about yourself as a woman. Put that right out of your mind, because it sounds silly when I'm driving to get more women into sales, but I think that's because we're not attracting people. It's people in a bracket, they're women, but don't think of yourself as a woman. Don't think of yourself as a mum or about the secondary breadwinner. Think about, what am I capable of and what do I want to do as a job? And this is a rewarding career. and you will bring something to the party that I want.
And are you going to carry on with this career yourself? Is that your plan?
Yeah, I've actually got my retirement plan all sorted.
Have you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's got to be a way off.
Not that far, actually. No, because I do. I love my career, and I think I've maybe got one more level in me in the organisation.
Yeah.
But actually, I want to go and live. I want to travel, and I don't do that when I'm 70. I want to be off.
Fantastic. It's been a lovely conversation. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, I love to.
We have some great conversations. I got a perspective on this myself, having been in sales for 30 years, and also having, I was going to say, raised 2 daughters. I didn't raise 2 daughters. My wife and my daughters raised 2 daughters. I was barely there, frankly. I think life is a bit more balanced and nuanced now. But I did eventually find out that after we'd lived in our house for 10 years, we moved in. It was me, my wife, and 2 little kids. I did realize after 10 years of living there, it was me and 3 women.
Oh, yeah.
And neither one of those is actually directly in sales. Although my eldest daughter, Grace, is now working with sales teams very closely because she's a bid manager for outsourcing company, which is lovely, isn't it?
Excellent. That's fantastic. Actually, I'd like some more bid managers as well where we are. So that is a little mission of mine.
It's a good point. Yeah, that's another entry into, because she's not directly in sales or carrying a quota, but she's working very closely with the sales team. So I think it's a lovely topic. Thank you so much for coming and talking about it today. I'm sure we'll be back as this journey of yours continues and we have more things to share.
Fantastic. Look forward to it.
And thank you to the listener. Please do give us a review if you like what you've heard. It helps to boost the ratings enormously. And subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform to make sure you don't miss the next episode.